Happy Tears Day. Let's talk about Heilung. So this weekend's just gone. My wife and I and a good friend Anita and I know Sarah and Alex, a healthy bunch of heathens, went into London to see Heilung on their tour. And I just want to break down the experience and offer my thoughts on it, because it's something we'd been looking forward to for a great length of time. And it's also worth noting that the change of venue is due to the fact there was a tragic accident at the Brixton venue, and it had to be moved to Hammersmith. Pre-event or pre-gig meet-up was at a lovely pub, and we had a good time, and some of us dressed up, so it was a lot of hype. We were very, very excited about being out in the city. It's everything was fine. Everything was going good. We get into the venue, and sadly we missed the opening act, Lily Refrain, who, I mean, she was pretty much finishing as we was moving towards our seats, which was a shame. The other opening act is our much beloved Eivor. Obviously, we saw her on my birthday in October when, as a headline act, and we'd seen her twice previous to the weekend as a headline act in London. It seems to be she comes over to perform around the time of my birthday in October, so it's sort of like a great gift. So we got to see her as an opening act, which felt a bit weird. I won't lie. I'll maintain she's probably the best female vocalist in the music industry. If you haven't heard her work, please check her out. She's brilliant. And it's fair to say, with a half-hour opening slot, she made the best of it that was there available. She opened up with the opening theme from The Last Kingdom, which is where you may recognise her voice from. She also did another track from The Last Kingdom, as well as sort of some of her more solid sort of songs that she's recorded, particularly from her album Slaw, which I highly recommend. But she nailed it. I mean, she is a fantastic performer, even with a stripped down setup, because obviously being an opening act, she engaged with the audience. In fact, she engaged more with the audience than Heilung did. And I'll get to that once we start talking about Heilung. I just really want to sort of carry the enthusiasm we have for Eivor, because she is a fantastic artist, and she always performs well, enjoys herself, looks like she's enjoying herself performing, and deserves greater sort of acknowledgement, I think, in the music industry. So Eivor finishes off by sort of saying, I hope you enjoy Heilung, and off she trots. So then the stage starts getting set for Heilung. The curtain comes down and we see the extended set for Heilung. It is very exciting. Lights project sort of some of the tribal artwork on the walls of the venue, and we're getting ready to enjoy the ritual. Obviously, if you're not aware, Heilung refer to their performances as rituals, which is an interesting take on things. So they essentially smudge the stage before they start their performance, and obviously this gets a lot of the crowd excited. The crowd are calling out a lot. They're making sort of whooping noises, I would say. I wouldn't say that they're making howling noises, but it's sort of like hoops of crying, sort of shout outs. So then the Heilung performers come onto stage and start performing their opening ceremony, which I was a little disappointed that the crowd weren't quite respectful of that. I say it's personal opinion. It's certainly nothing to reflect on Heilung as a band or environment. Obviously people are excited, but as they are sort of performing ritual, a bit of respectful silence would have been more appropriate, I feel. There are times through the Heilung performance when the crowd impacted on my experience, and it's not to want to sound like a killjoy. It's just there are certain moments when it's just that sort of be quiet, listen to what's going on, then move on, then applaud, shout out, etc. So Heilung start, and they start strong, and it's a really positive performance to begin with. There's no audience engagement, which for someone who's been to many gigs feels a bit off, not quite right, but that's okay. Other than the lead male singer sort of throwing out a cheeky "hello" type thing, which was worth a giggle. But that was pretty much the only interaction Heilung had with the audience, which at a gig seems unusual. I felt slightly off. Perhaps that's because of my gig experiences and the things I look for to enjoy when seeing other bands. The way a band engages with the audience makes the whole sort of show more of a touching sort of experience. What we noticed is Maria, the female singer, her voice was strong for probably 1/3 of the concert, 1/3 of the performance, and then she was struggling. Now, I don't think this is because she's a bad singer. Heilung have become a huge, big act, and they were filming that night, and I suspect, having had a winter break and being a couple of gigs back in, she either wasn't feeling too great or was restricted in some way because her voice could not carry the notes properly, or she was not singing well. I say she was good for the first third of the concert, and then the latter 2/3 she was struggling, and just sort of listened to a few sort of recordings after the gig, listening to it, and you can really hear that her voice is struggling. So I feel, coming away from the concert and reflecting on it, that we didn't get to see Heilung at 100% power. And what I want to get across is I don't I'm not criticising them because I don't think it's anything that was their fault. It was just really sort of a shame because, let's say, circumstances not under or in the band's control. And I suppose really as where we were seated, we were spectators of the show, and it was a fantastic show. It's all singing, all dancing. It's a very enthusiastic performance. It's just a shame that it seems there was something not quite sort of gelled together. The other thing is the lack of audience sort of acknowledgement feels something Heilung could improve, because they give off a vibe really of sort of Vince Clarke or Pet Shop Boys sort of stoic demeanour, which, don't get me wrong, there are some serious issues that Heilung address. But to be on stage and to perform, yes, that's what we're going to see. But all the best concerts I've been to are always ramped up another level by the way the act engages with the audience. Even so much as sort of, for it being a ritual, Heilung, and I am joking, this is slightly tongue-in-cheek, but Heilung break one of the sacred covenants of going to a gig with no encore. I mean, I'd say, really, it is a pantomime, the encore process, because ordinarily, the band haven't finished. You're screaming, shouting, applauding, till you draw the band back on stage to perform one or two more songs, normally a big hit of some sort, or one of their sort of classic songs that extends the party, if you like. But it is pantomime. Heilung don't do that, or they chose not to do that on this occasion, and that was kind of like a splash of cold water in the face to sort of go, no, our ritual is done. They did their closing ritual, and it was like, oh, okay. I mean, really, earlier in the show, they'd done the songs really I would have expected them to do as an encore, but that's not how they do things. And again, that's fine, but it doesn't engage you with the crowd. Things to observe. I mean, we come away from it, and it was very much sort of, and this is where comparisons are both unfair but natural things to do, is Heilung are not Wardruna, and Wardruna will, or they do, engage with the crowd, or sort of, these are certain aspects that lead to a sort of, it wasn't quite the gig I had hoped it would be. Would I see them again? Yes, mainly because I'd much rather be in the crowd by the stage rather than in a comfortable seat spectating. I think that probably alters the experience, and I do think they weren't at full power. Incidentally, the final track they did, I mean, it was a long track, but there was a point in it that it reminded me very much of, I think it's Matrix Reloaded, when they're all in Zion and there's the rave, and you get the slow motion of everyone just in the moment with the beat, and that was a peak moment, really. I'm not going to say it felt like time stopped, but there was a moment in time to sort of look around, reflect, enjoy, and feel the power, the energy. It was something special, and that is to be embraced. So really, would go and see them again, but I wouldn't have the drive to go and see them again. Say like with Eivor, who next time she plays in the UK, we'll go and see her. Next time Wardruna play in the UK, we'll go and see them. Heilung, I'd like to see them again. I wouldn't be disappointed if I didn't get tickets. I suppose the other thing is an unfair comparison. Wardruna are more Nordic folk music of a type, whereas Heilung, natural comparisons, yes, they make sense, but their music is tribal music. And I think that there's a they will be compared to each other, but there are distinct differences in styles, attitudes, and presentation of the bands. But all in all, did have a good time, even though it sounds like I'm quite critical. And it's something I would recommend you at least experience. Let's say for me, what I want to see is Heilung 100% power, and I hope that if Miriam Franz is struggling because of a health issue, it could be she's got a cold. I appreciate, obviously they didn't cancel or that they made the effort. I just didn't feel that she was on her sort of in her peak performance, and that's a shame. But I would much rather wish her well, and I don't feel like I've been robbed of anything. It's more a case of it wasn't peak performance, and it's probably something that if she knows that, she's probably disappointed with also. So yeah, it doesn't rate in my sort of top 5 gigs. But it was a good experience, and I say, really, see them again. I want to be in the crowd because I think that would probably be an utterly different dynamic. So yeah, that was Heilung in London, January 2023. More videos will be coming this week because, been a little bit quiet of late. Do take care. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.